Okay. Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of Balance and Breakthroughs with Will. And this is the space where we explore what it truly means to heal, grow, and show up as our most authentic selves. And even when that journey is not neat, you know, orderly or organized or comfortable, it's really what makes life worth living. It makes it an adventure. So I'm your host, Will Singleton, and today's conversation is so interesting. Today we've invited somebody to really slow down and listen more deeply on how we expand and understand our identity with courage, all about mental health. So my guest today is Michael Cuevas. Is that how I say your last name?
Cuevas. Hey,
Cuevas.
close enough.
All right. Cuevas, and he is an author and a mental health advocate and has a powerful voice on self-acceptance and healing. Mike is the author of The Many Faces of Me, which is such a great title. A deeply personal memoir that sheds light on living with dissociative identity disorder and the lifelong journey of learning how to honor every part of oneself. And I cannot wait to get into this story with this young man. Um, in a world that often demands simplicity and labels, Mike's story challenges us all to embrace complexity. And let's just get to it, man. I'm ready. I'm ready. Tell us about you. Give us a little intro.
Well, my name is Mike Cuevas. I'm a father first. I'm a
Mhm.
everything author. I'm an advocate right now, living with dissociative identity disorder. Um, my work really is to try to bring understanding to DID, what
Mhm.
it means, what actually stands for, which is dissociative identity disorder. For those who don't know, it used to be known as multiple personality disorder, and
Mhm.
that's how I knew it. And so I try to break down the stigma behind it because for a long time I lived with the thought of what is wrong with me,
Mm.
right? I was feeling shame and walking around with guilt, thinking I had multiple personality disorder. That it really drew me away from, and I became isolated within myself.
Mhm.
All that shame, all that guilt, it really just, I mean, I was my own worst enemy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now what I go around and talk about and understanding that I was asking the wrong question. Instead of asking what's wrong with me, I should have been asking what happened to me.
Ooh, that's
And
good.
and instead of feeling shame and guilt for what actually happened to me, I should have faced my demons a long time ago and sought out support
Mhm.
and empathy and compassion from others.
Mhm.
But it's just things you learn along the way while discovering. That's why like I said, well, I love your story, man. Your perseverance and outcome, and in the face of obstacles, it it's life, right?
Mhm.
Life is rarely simple.
Ugh.
We always have those obstacles.
Mhm.
And what DID is great at is masquerading. How to mask ourselves, how to put the mask on for the world to just move forward, how to persevere, how to endure.
Yeah, it's crazy how we will look for acceptance everywhere else except for within ourselves. And that's where the real acceptance starts on getting other people to accept us is when I accept me, then you can work with me, but when I'm running around with this imposter syndrome or I'm trying to play a role that never really fits because I haven't got used to me, and so how when you said the shame of it, where did that come from? I mean, how did you deal with that?
This is where I'm gonna definitely slow this down just a bit
Okay.
because shame is what mattered to me. That's shame turned to guilt, and the guilt of being who I am, of being, like I said, of everything that happened to me. I was just blaming myself. And
Hmm.
that's where the shame came in because I didn't have the balls, for lack of another word, to just face and confront those demons that were hiding in the closet. And excuse my vulgarity,
It's okay.
but it really that's what it was. Um, and I dissociate a lot, especially in conversations like right now.
Hmm.
I felt myself kind of dissociate, and I do a lot of mental exercise. I'm a walking mental exercise.
Okay.
So going back to the beginning of shame and where that came from, I think it had a lot to do with my background of being Latino, of being growing up in a Catholic home, and just you don't want to behave like that because then the devil's gonna come after you.
Mm.
You don't want to play into those thoughts or voices in your head. Those are not really real. Those are the demons coming after you. And I'm like, okay, so I was feeling shame. So right away, I couldn't even speak up to my own family because they were telling me, no, it's not like this. No,
Mm.
you're what you're feeling and what you're thinking and what your thoughts, those aren't right. And so that as time progressed, I learned that that shame of actually having those thoughts and actually having those voices, I had to keep it to myself because I
Mm.
knew if I said to anyone, they were just gonna shame me for it. No, no, no. You stop thinking that way. I'm like, and it wasn't until, like I said, I found some real empathy and found someone to actually see me for a moment that granted me that safety to be like, dude,
Yeah.
what you're feeling, what you're hearing, that's all right.
Yeah.
We all do that, man. It's okay to be human.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's something I never had in my life,
The human experience.
right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is
I
that.
think one of the biggest problems that kind of, like you said, it works with the shame is the silence, especially for men. We already don't know how to talk about emotions anyways. But when we
It could,
we're really in pain, and we're still silent, that just makes it three times worse.
and I believe it's because it's ingrained into us as kids. Our father, I don't know, I really don't know your backstory, but my father would be like, "No, you suck it up. You don't tell nobody. You get these emotions, you shove it out down, and you
Hmm.
get your ass up and you go to work the next morning,
Yep.
or you go to school. You do your homework no matter what. You just shut up and keep your head down. You keep your
Hmm.
mouth shut, and you keep moving forward." And honestly, are the reason why I choose to speak up and finally be like, you know what? No, not anymore.
Mm.
Because along this journey, shame turned to courage.
Yeah.
Because when I finally started asking myself, not what's wrong with me, but what actually happened to me, I slowly began to realize that I am my own sovereign person. If I don't stand up for myself and I don't have compassion for myself and I don't hold empathy for myself, nobody else will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And until I did that, and honestly, Will, that's probably one of the hardest things that we ever did in our life was be able to sit with ourselves and hold compassion and empathy because with with, with my committee, I was really running away from my dark side, from
Hmm.
my evil, quote unquote, evil ones, because those are the ones I battle with the most.
Hmm.
And what I didn't know was those dark ones, the protective ones, were actually one of the oldest personalities I had within my nervous system.
Hmm.
Because when I learned that dissociative identity disorder arises from a traumatic experience,
Hmm.
I'm like, all right, so what traumatic experience did I have that made my mind split into two?
Mm,
Why did my mind have to adapt to the environment around me to have to split? And throughout therapy and throughout all my journey, I realized that many traumatic things did happen to me at a very young age to where my mind really had to block things out.
mm,
And I talked to a lot of people in peer support groups. Peer support groups are great, by the way. I
mm.
love peer support groups. I'm an advocate for peer support. There we go, dissociative again. I completely forgot where we're going.
Advocate for
Sorry.
peer support. No, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, it really hearing other people just share the same stories and like I remember when I was a kid blocking things out because I couldn't deal with things. So I would go to this place and I'm like, yeah, I did that too. I still do that too every once in a while.
Hmm.
And little by little, I came to terms with I never dealt with those parts of me that
Hmm.
split. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So when that happened to me as a young kid, I split. It's almost like a copy and paste, and I was leaving the paste part, but never lived off the original document.
Oh, that's
If that
deep.
makes any sense at all, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I had to go back to the original document and find out, okay, what really happened to me?
Mm-hmm.
And the hard part was when you actually ask yourself that what happened to me and those traumatic events actually do come back for us. I had to do hypnosis therapy to actually remember some of the events. I wasn't prepared for my body to remember
Mm.
that,
Yeah,
more than anything. Goodness, that was that.
yeah.
That's when I realized how hard it really is to sit with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I realized, okay, my body is shaking. Why am I shaking? This is just information. Why is this information making my body shake? And that's when I learned that's why I dissociate because whatever environment around me is so overwhelming that my mind cannot comprehend, cannot process everything in real time.
Mm-hmm.
It's also why I have a hard time sleeping because I'll wait until the end of the night where I feel safe enough, process everything that actually happened during the day.
Oh.
I don't know if
Huh.
that makes any sense. It's not until I actually have the safety
Mm-hmm.
that I'm able to process and actually have some kind of clarity
So you put
as
everything
far
on
as
hold until you can download it when you feel safe.
somewhat, yeah. And
Okay.
it's as I talk to people, they do this. Like, a lot of people tend to do the same thing too. Like they're working, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're so used to work, and then something will happen to where they dissociate from work, and they're like, "Oh, you'll pay attention to what that." I'm like, man, that's how it is for me too, man. Sometimes I'm just tuned into whatever I'm doing that I just forget everything else
Mm-hmm.
that's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So how did you through the hypnosis and the therapy, how did you, what were the first steps of you coming to terms and really bringing all of you to the table and being cool with it?
It wasn't an easy journey being cool with it, and man, we didn't discover we had DID or we didn't discover we were a system until a couple of months into therapy.
Mm.
And the key behind everything was safety. It was a long process and I truly wanted to understand.
Hmm.
Um, I guess before I answer that question, I gotta tell you my why.
Hmm.
My why I decided to change, why I decided to go to therapy in the first place, why I decided to write the book. And it's because I have two boys at home.
Hmm.
You know, at that time, I believe they're like 3 and 8 or something like that. And I remember those are the years where I had my trauma.
Hmm.
I don't want to be dissociated for them at that age. I want to be present for them at that age. I grew up wanting to be Tim the Toolman Taylor. Yeah,
All
I
right,
didn't
I
have
remember
that at
that.
home, so I wanted to be him. I wanted my boys to know that that's what a real father does. He takes care of them. He's present. He might be a schmuck every once in a while, but at
Hmm.
least he's there. He's showing up. He's doing his best. He's so. We made a decision as with me and the voices in my head, be like, you know what? We're gonna get better. Fuck all this. Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. You can cuss on here, man. It's all right.
Right.
My mom's not on here. You'll be fine.
Let's go get some real help. Let's get some real help. And part of that shame and guilt of growing up was so instilled in me. It kept me from thinking, you know what, therapy sucks, man. Therapy's for losers and
Mm,
weaklings.
mm,
And it really just kept me from healing. It kept me from resolving issues. And
yeah.
once we faced that fear of what do other people think if I go into therapy? What am I gonna find out? Go to therapy, and I'm gonna be honest. Will a big fear of ours was sharing what's really inside our head, and then being institutionalized.
Mm,
That was the biggest fear. Is that I really couldn't tell others what it felt like because I don't want to be taken away from my boys, man. I don't want to
right.
be lose my job. I don't want. I know I'm freaking nuts. I don't want the whole world to know I'm nuts. And that's part of the shame is that I'm not nuts.
Mm-mm.
I'm not crazy. I had a system, yes. I had a nervous system that adapted to survive. It had to do what it had to do to keep me alive.
Hmm.
And I shouldn't be shamed for that. I shouldn't feel
No,
guilt for that.
no. You
As I
know,
get older, sorry, go ahead.
okay.
I,
I was just
I
thinking
read
like
some.
if we were back in the 50s or the 20s, yeah, there'd have been a real fear of being institutionalized. But now I see a lot of people learning to work with the broken pieces to rebuild their life, and that's why your story is so amazing, because you are literally working with the individual pieces to make a masterpiece.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Um, it's been easy. Like, man, you were for 400 to what you look. You look great, by the way. For being, after hearing your story, man, to go through some trials and tribulations, to actually go through the fire. See, well, that's another thing I didn't know. And while I was writing, I wrote the many faces of me during for the discovery process of our DID, our system, to give
Hmm.
us peace, to actually be cool with it. But during that journey, something that we knew we had to do was we actually had to go into the fire. And at that time, we watched a lot of Forged the Fire.
Hmm.
It's a food craft show. I don't know if you're familiar with it,
A little bit.
but yeah, all right. So you do. So you got to get raw steel. You get the rawness of everything that's in your damn closet. You get the rawness of everything that's in your mind.
Hmm.
You put that in the damn fire. And what I didn't know is that fire is me actually sitting with what happened to me. Now, once I started sitting in that fire and started processing what happened to me, I was able to shape, all right, what is it that I want to become? I want to be a strong father. All right, let's do that. How are we going to do that? Like, all right, what else do you want to be? I want to be confident. All right, well, let's go work out. So little by little, we started unpeeling those layers of onions.
Hmm.
And each layer is different. Some layers are smaller than the others, some are thicker than the others. No matter what, you're gonna end up crying because it's still a freaking onion.
Yeah,
But you just
right.
gotta peel it in order to get to the core. But once you get to that core, man, you get to the true essence of who you are.
Hmm.
And I know the true essence of who I am is I'm a great human being. I stand proud for my boys, and we live by a code that others don't. We rarely hear anymore, and that's honor.
Mm.
I rarely hear the word honor anymore. And god damn it, I want some fucking honor.
Yeah.
Every step that I take it for my boys. This is Yeah, I might be twitchy face every once in a while, but
Hmm.
that's the cost I paid to deal with my emotions. Now
Yeah.
you're young. Let me tell you now, Pop, if that scares you, hey, let me know how that feels. And honestly, Will, that's one of the biggest shifts that I made is one of the reasons I felt the freedom of peace rather than living in pressure was hearing the sound of my 10-year-old son. They're like, hey, Pop, this is how I feel. This is how I feel when you're walking around like this. This is what I express. And I'm like, you know what, Pop? Thank you, man. You
Mm,
know how long I've been wanting to know how you're feeling? To know that you're feeling that way? Thank you, man. It's okay to feel that way. Whenever you feel that way, please, man, come knock on my door. Come tap on my head. You pick whoever you want to talk to, man. We're here for you. I will hold space for you, man.
mm.
It was one of the biggest cries that we both ever had in our life. But it was a release because I knew I finally built a bridge of healing
Hmm.
from my past generations. And I was able to build a bridge of healing towards the new generations. And that, more than to me, is I'll pay whatever price you want me to pay for that.
Yeah. Your courage to work on you is, because I know this, personally, and with the work I do, that all the clients that come in and see me are probably my inspiration because I know how hard it is, especially, as a man. And so, I guess, part of my question is, not only do you have to deal with the being the man stigma, but how was it for you culturally? Because I know in the Black culture, we don't do counseling.
And culturally was something that our DAD played a part of too, honestly. Um, because culturally, to be honest, I come from a Mexican background and they
Hmm.
believe in what they call curanderas and curanderos, which is another word for shaman or,
Okay.
you know, spiritual healers. And so they thought that that was the answer to what was going inside my head. And it just like further, honestly, I'm like, it just pushed me away more, made me want to run away and just like, at 15. But anyways, no trauma dumping.
Yeah.
Um, where were we? I'm sorry, Will.
I was just, the courage it took you to break through the stigma of not only being a man, but, with your culture and how they feel about, mental health. I mean, you crossed a lot of barriers to break a cycle to really bring your children the best version of you so they could be the best version of themselves. And I mean, dude, your story is going to inspire millions, especially men, you know.
Man, I hope so.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yo, culturally, huh? Culturally, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Culturally, my father worked 3 jobs and
Mm-hmm.
he had polio on his feet. So his feet were all disjointed.
Mm.
And so we had to deal with that. But that's also why he said there's no excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, motherfucker, I gotta feel like this. I'm working 3 minimum paid jobs. Like, get your ass out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you were brought up, man works, woman cooks, woman takes care of the house. That's culturally that's how it was. So now that I'm in a relationship, I have my boys, I had my demons. I didn't know how to I truly never learned how to be in a relationship.
Mm.
I didn't know. So you said something in your first episode. Marriage is not for the weak and it's not for the immature. I
Yes.
mean, you were right, man. Yeah, really, you really were right. So me and my partner, man, we've had our ups and downs. We've had our moments of chaos, and especially during me sitting through my demons, it wasn't hard for them, and it came to the point where my boys are my why,
Mm.
And because I had to choose safety of myself and our system, I had to leave her. I had to leave my boys. I left everything because I had to make a decision. Either I stay and I crack
Hmm.
under that pressure and who knows what's going to happen, or I leave and I save myself, work on myself, and become that steel that comes out of that fire that I want so bad, which is
Hmm.
a sword, a living sword of protection for my boys. Until that happens, I'm not ready to come back to this home.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to put in the fucking work. And I had
Hmm.
to get that shit done.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I knew when I did come back, I was ready not only to be a partner, a true partner, because something that we also discovered was my partner has PMDD. So
Hmm.
that's for those who don't know, that's really severe PMS.
Mm.
And that really triggers the shit out of our system
Well, I bet.
to where so we weren't prepared to deal with the everyday pressures of emotions. So like I said, DID is an adaptive survival system. And one of the ways we learned to adapt was to withdraw emotionally.
Hmm.
The moment she started arguing, the first thing we did was withdraw emotionally, and our mind went somewhere else.
Hmm.
And that's not fair to her. It's not fair to her. It's not fair to us because we're just learning to run away from our issues. And part of that issues was you are expecting empathy from others without giving empathy to others. That the complete shift.
Yeah.
It went from to
Mm.
now it wasn't overnight.
Right, right, right.
It's like, you look at the top of that mountain, I'm like, all right, I know I know that mountain. I know what it feels like to be on top of that mountain now.
Hmm.
Because we had a conversation. Man, all right, how are we gonna do that? One step at a time. That's the only way you get up that damn hill. It's
Hmm.
one step at a time. And the issue that our system had at the time was we felt we needed recognition. We felt we needed validation for every step that we took to get to that hill.
Hmm.
It wasn't until we were on our journey that we realized, man, no one's gonna give you a clap or pat you in the back for those silent nights that
Yeah.
you're working on whatever you work. No
Hmm.
one's gonna, no one actually sees you sweat or bleed or cry your ass off just to see the struggles you have to do with just to get through the day.
Hmm. Hmm.
You got to give yourself that.
Yeah.
You got to talk to your system and give all of them a pat on the back for letting you survive, for keeping you alive this long. And when we started doing that, that's when our confidence started to come out. That's when we started really working and thriving, was because we knew that, man, I'm never alone. They're always here. They always have my back. I walk in strength because I know
Hmm.
that they walk with me, man. My nervous system was built to protect me
Yeah.
because I was worth protecting.
Hmm. So, how did you get your system to have the courage to start showing up? You know,
Sorry. Um, you know how I said DID is really good at masquerading?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So we were in therapy for months before our therapist even knew we were a system, and that's because she finally we were when we first went to therapy, we still had a wall or defensive wall
Hmm.
around what was really going on in here because past experiences, you want to be cautious, you want to be weary. So it wasn't until she and we felt safe enough in that environment
Hmm.
to actually open up. And that's why I preach, man. Safety is key for anything.
Mm.
I let my boys feel safe enough to express what they're feeling. I need to be safe in order to truly thrive. Like safety is key, period. when she provided that safety space, my system pretty much told me it was time because without knowing, one of my parts, one of my alters just while I'm having a normal conversation, my hands over here like waving and like, hi, I'm over here.
Yeah.
And and she's like, okay, unexpected body movement. I'm like, yeah, all right. So I guess it's time for me to share what's really going on here. So it's almost like my body let me know.
Hmm.
And once I made that distinction that my body let me know, I ran with it. And I'm like, okay, my body's actually telling me something. Because I started to remember when my body felt, man, I used to walk around like anxiety lived on my chest. And I don't
Mm.
know if you know what I mean by that. But every time I woke up, I was just, and after I made peace with my sister, man, it feels like a cloud and clarity in
Yeah.
my chest, and I'm able to walk that way now.
Hmm. So when you were talking about giving your system, all a pat and applause every now and then is because I always talk about self-care. Is self-care more complex for your system, or is it, how do you work that? Is it individualized or is
Hmm.
it all the same?
Individualized and the same at the same time. And what I mean by that is one thing I write in my second book is calm is a superpower, right?
Okay.
And that's because the more calm we are, it allows me to actually gain some clarity into what's going on in here.
Hmm.
So when I work on self-care, I pretty much have to be like, okay, which one of my parts, which one of my alters needs attention? And I do weekly almost training for each one of them. So it was this almost it is individually because I know this part needs this. Okay,
Okay.
that part of mine needs that. Um, so that's pretty much how I work it. So it really is a support team of a
Hmm.
self-care.
Okay.
So it's all the same because I'm giving them attention. I'm recognizing them. I'm praising them. And it's actually the more I do that, the more it helps to relive traumatic events too. Because something that I've been learning to live with
Hmm.
is now that I've learned to face my demons, and now that I learned to okay, when the fear comes, rather than retreat, I hold steady, I hold fast. I'm like, all right, which one of my parts is I recognize them. Like, okay, look, we're safe. And I really have to put my hand on my chest and my hand on my
Yeah.
abdomen to let my body know, look, man, you're safe.
We're okay. We're
We're
okay.
grown men now. Nobody
Hmm.
can hurt us unless we allow them.
Hmm.
And then I reframe whatever situation is in a positive way. Like this did not define who we are.
Hmm.
This moment does not define anything of our past. Our past did not define our future. I really, like I said, man, I really am a walking mental exercise
Hmm.
because I just watched A Beautiful Mind with my partner the other day, and we were so triggered that my body started convulsing and so many memories started to come back. And I'm like, oh, and it's just had a whole day of dissociation
Hmm.
because of just memories. And one thing I do now is rather than run away from them or like this that didn't really happen, I, I'm allowed space
Hmm.
to sit
Hmm.
with them. My partner understands that about me now, so she doesn't freak out so much.
Hmm.
My kids neither. Is like once I made peace with everything, and my family was at peace with everything too. They understood certain things. I was able to hold space for them, and they were able to hold space for me. So there's times where my little one, his name is Johnny.
Okay.
So every once in a while, Johnny will shout out from across the room, "Dad, your face is glitching again." I'm like, "Okay, Pop, thanks for letting me know, man. I'll go work on my breathing exercises, man."
Hmm. Hmm. So was your system always a team, or did you have to start developing some team building exercises so they could be more cohesive?
Um, Team and cohesiveness came through therapy, honestly.
Okay.
It, there's no other way to put it because without therapy, I would have known I was a system and I wouldn't have the tools to be able to communicate with my system. And
Mm-hmm.
that was really vital is having tools. So mid-teens to 40s,
Mm-hmm.
20-year gap of me running away, of me not dealing with situations, of all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
darkness. And when therapy finally came, I realized that I was having tools throughout my life. My mind was adapting. So how I learned to communicate with them, how to masquerade was actually tools that I had developed. So before I even went to my therapist, who I currently have now, uh, before that happened, I already talking to them. Like I said, I dealt with voices all my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always communicated with them. I've always had this, I just didn't know why certain things would happen. And like for example, I would have overreactions or dramatizations to small little things where at the time in real time I could hear in the back of my head saying, okay, that was too much.
Mm-hmm.
My persona at the time was so, and I'll be walking around
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for hours, 2 hours, but I remember initially that thought of, oh, where the fuck did this come from?
Right, right.
And I bypassed that whole thing, and I just let my nervous system carry that over. That if I was just taking the second to pause, recognize what my body was telling me at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have had a better opportunity to not overreact. I probably would have had a better opportunity to handle that obstacle or situation differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that more than anything has helped in my
Mm-hmm.
life now that I didn't know unless I sat with myself and went through that damn fire and courage to face myself.
Yeah.
That's what
What do you think the hardest part of healing the broken pieces was for you?
healing the broken pieces. The hardest part really was showing myself compassion. Giving myself compassion. Honestly, that's still some of the one of the hardest things. It is.
It's loving yourself.
It really is because, like I said, we do all this work behind closed doors. We do all this work day and night. We put in all these hours, man. Like how this podcast started, you and I both know that's what people don't see, and that's
Mm,
what the effort is, man. That's where that's that step getting up to that mountain that people don't recognize and we don't get praise for, and we forget. Maybe it's because we just didn't get praised a lot when we were growing up, or we didn't get recognition that we forget to give that to ourselves.
mm,
But something that we try to do now as a system every night is, man, you stronger today than the version of us that fell asleep last night.
mm,
And that happened because we stayed. We had the courage to stay with ourselves, within our body, and we had the balls to stay present.
mm.
And once we can do ourselves, damn man, I got goosebumps right now. Just
Yeah.
we feel our own praise, we feel our own empathy. And
Hmm.
when we do that, man, we can all grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So your book, The Many Faces of Me, shares like really personal experiences with DID. When did you realize that your life was a story that you needed to write? And you're telling me that this is your second book, or how many books do you have?
I'm currently working on my third one.
Okay.
So I have
Okay.
two out right now. Um,
When did you know you were going to tell your story on paper?
So I think I didn't quite know I was gonna write a story. I started off by doing video journals because I did something that in the DID community they tell you not to do,
Hmm.
which is and I advocate against this now too, is speed up your healing process. And the way I did that was I wanted to know. I'm the type of person that needs to understand
Hmm.
and evaluate. So before I can solve a problem, I got to figure out, okay, all right, what is the pieces on the board so I can figure out the problem.
Hmm.
So in order to do that, I did a 30-day intervention on myself. I sat in front of the laptop and I'm like, all right, I give permission to all those inside of my system and inside of our body and our lives to come forward and tell me something.
Hmm.
The first couple of days, it wasn't too bad until some of the questions started to get personal. Like, all right, what does the little one in me want to tell me today? What is my protector want to tell me? You know, when I had to answer those and my voices came through, that's when I knew our voices need a story. Our voices need to be heard.
Hmm.
And that's what I said the many faces of me because they all wanted something to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And something I'm really, really cautious about because excuse me, I do go to peer support groups is trauma dumping. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. So in the book, I try to speak on experiences that are really human, that have that human connection
Hmm.
that everyday people can deal with it. And just going by the support groups that I understand, okay, my voice can make an impact.
Hmm.
My voice, if anything, just calm you for a couple of seconds and let you know you're not alone. Then
Hmm.
man, I'm good. I'm golden. My second book was more of we had to deal with CPTSD. So we didn't have uh, an identity basically, or we fought against our own identity, being shameful and
Hmm.
guilt, gaslit. So along, you know how I mentioned that I had to choose myself
Yeah.
and I had to leave everything behind. Well, when I did that, I needed mantras. I needed private journals that would keep me going, that would give me the reasons to endure.
Yeah.
So I ended up writing, it's almost like poems too that remind me, okay, there's a storm. Yeah, everything's chaotic. There's the winds are going 20
Hmm.
miles per hour. Chairs are being thrown out of space. Now I had a choice. I could either be in that storm or I could be the calm in the center of it
Oh, that's
and
good.
just watch everything go. And I'd rather be that calm in the center and see all that chaos around me and able to dissect it. I'm like, all right, cool.
Hmm.
And move from there. That that second book is is to give me that peace
Hmm.
that I could be in that center. That it gave me that power of creating. So one thing that we struggle with is consistency. And the consistency of motivation dies, right? Motivation always dies. I needed to create habits, and it was habits formed through safety. So even being homeless, even
Hmm.
being, it was 118 degrees in Las Vegas when I did
Ooh.
my journey. So talk about being in the fire, right?
Hmm.
I was dealing with that, being hungry, sleeping in 98 degrees at night,
Mm.
and still feel safe enough in my own self, in my own body to know that I'm okay. My adaptive system has activated to know that we are
Hmm.
good. And honestly, Will, writing that second book, it was more personal for us because it got us through that storm
Hmm.
unscathed. And when we came back, to our home, the I should say persona or alter that came and arrived at the doorstep for our boys was a mountain of support.
Mm,
So not only that I climbed that mountain, not only that I make it to the top, because I had to take every fucking step, hard, wrenching, and I made it to that damn top of that mountain so I can come home and just be a mountain of support, not
yeah,
only for my boys, but for my partner as well.
yeah.
And that made the biggest difference because once I was able to learn to be a mountain of support for them, man, I was getting that in return.
So you
They
climb the
became my mountain
mountain
of support.
so you could be as strong as the mountain.
Man,
Yeah, yeah. Mm. What is the mission now? Because I know your why is your boys, but now you're an advocate and a speaker for mental health. What's the mission now?
the mission is really simple. Break down that stigma.
Yeah.
Stigma doesn't hurt feelings, and that's what I want people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Stigma hurts futures. What
Mm,
future could someone have if they just felt safe enough to tell them what's going inside?
mm-hmm.
What future can someone have if they get the proper help and the proper support at a young age and in their mid 20s or early 20s rather than in their 40s and late 40s, man?
Mm-hmm.
Because something I discovered, the longer I had this, the worse it got.
Mm,
The older I became without dealing with it, the worse I became.
mm-hmm.
And that's what my message is now. And not only they're breaking down that stigma so people don't have to feel shame for
Yeah.
something that kept them alive. They shouldn't do it. The adaptive nervous system, our DID, was built to thrive and to endure, to protect us because we are worth protecting. And that's
Mm-hmm.
nothing to be shameful about. There's nothing to feel guilty about.
That's
That's
powerful.
my mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in fact, I was just thinking about everything you were saying, and I know I had said broken pieces, but I don't think the pieces were broken. I think they were puzzle pieces that make up you, and you are an extraordinary human being.
Thank you, Will. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. I love conversations like this, man. And I thank you for providing a platform to let our voice be heard. Thank you for
Yeah.
having the courage
Yeah.
yourself to go through your journey and go through your battles to be able to provide. Man, did you know if you wouldn't have done what you done, I wouldn't have been able to speak today. And that's cold hard facts, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a journey that we're all on that we deserve to share because it's powerful. And I think we disguise it, or it gets camouflaged with our own misunderstanding of shame, and and silence, and we begin to neglect and reject ourselves, and so our story is smothered, and it really needs to shine, because that's how we grow and that's how we glow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We lift each other up, right?
Yeah,
Not put each other down.
absolutely. Absolutely. And we're meant to be unique tapestries that make a masterpiece, man. And whoo, man. So where can people find you to hear your inspirational words or read your books, or, do you have a website? Is there some place we can, get a link?
Yeah, well, if you look at your show notes, I'll provide everything for you so your listeners can go straight through you.
Okay.
If they want to read my books, then Amazon, Mike Cuevas, you'll see I have a pretty unique name.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
rarely seen other books in that name yet.
All right, that's cool, man. That's cool. One last question. If you could talk about any part of your book, what would be the one that hit you the most? That was the most powerful. What part of the book was the most powerful for you?
And that's easy. because it's something that I live with every day. Well, when I did choose myself, when I did choose to walk away, like I said, man, that's hard. When you live your life thinking you want to be Tim the Toolman Taylor, and then you walk out in that dream because you choose yourself, my body was convulsing. I was hyperventilating. I was shaking. And I ended up walking into a boxing gym. Now, I didn't go in there because I wanted to fight. I didn't even go in there to get a workout. One of my parts walked me in there because we just wanted to be seen.
Yeah.
And that coach, you know, when you reveal people you have DID, we got so used to people just thinking they were the serial killers that were multiple, DID, multiple personalities, some kind
Yeah.
of goodness, stranger danger. That it really made it hard for us to just seek help.
Hmm.
So when coach saw the way we were and the way, I said my face glitches and my body convulses, he just stood there and gave me 5 minutes, man. 5 minutes of presence.
Yeah.
Like, man, you good? You're good, man. You're good. He spent 5 minutes of he didn't interrogate me. He like, yo, what's wrong with you? Just let me be.
Hmm.
And then we gently walked on. I remember this man so vividly. He walked me onto the boxing match. You know how you put me into the ring, and he saw my hands kind of jittering. Yeah, he's like, "You're good. You're good. Let me see a punch." And we just started slowly. After 5 minutes, my body was no longer convulsing. My
Wow.
face was no longer twitching. He put his hands on my shoulders and looked at the door that I walked through. And he
Hmm.
said, Mike, the man walking at that door is stronger than the man that walked in. And Will, that's something that I carry with me every day because I know that the version of me that wakes up every day is stronger than the version of me who fell asleep. And
Yeah.
Coach gave me that power. Coach gave me that knowledge. He provided safety. And honestly, that's what we're hoping to do for everybody else. Just provide a message of safety
A message
to
of
let you know,
safety.
man, it's okay to be human. It's
Yeah.
okay to have compassion for yourself. And the version of you that did wake up is not louder, it's not stronger, but it is a version of you that is built because it was meant to protect you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Period.
Hmm. And you shouldn't be ashamed of it.
And you shouldn't be ashamed of that. Period.
Man. Well, Mike, man, I just want to thank you for being on the show, man. Your honesty and your courage is just it's one of the rare diamonds in the rough that I enjoy having on the show because that's what this show is about, you know. Conversations of this remind me that healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about recognizing we're already brand new, that we're already there. You know, we just need to feel safe with it, you know. So to everyone listening, if today's episode resonates with you, know this, that you are not broken, you are not alone, and your story matters, even the parts of you that are still learning how to understand. So if you'd like to learn more about Mike's work, the book, The Many Faces of Me, or his advocacy in mental health, be sure to check the show notes and the links in the resources that I'll have on the show. And if Balance and Breakthroughs continues to support you on your journey, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and share this episode with somebody you think might need to hear it. And as always, I am Will Singleton, and this is Balance and Breakthroughs, where healing meets honesty and growth begins with courage. And I appreciate you being here tonight to show your courage because it's
Thank
inspired
you, Will.
me. All right. Until next
Appreciate
time,
you.
guys, love every part of you. Peace.